Don't at me.
On the baseball topic, is baseball like gonna exist anymore? I mean, the COVID outbreaks, the Marlins are basically sidelined. They played the Phillies. The Philly Yankees series was canceled just out of, precaution. I mean, this is going to be a potential domino effect. I mean, are you going to have what are you going to do if you have teams that have only played 40 games in a season and then 60 and then then you have these other ramifications with, okay, I guess you're going to do winning percentage. But then, I mean, if somebody hits 450, like, is that the new record? Like, are people going to talk about that like Ted Williams? Like, it just keeps getting weirder and weirder and weirder. And I mean, I was all in favor of baseball coming back. Now I'm like, man, it's really going to look. I never considered what if it starts and stops. I think it could really be bad for the future of baseball.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I think it's crazy that they were just like, hey, let's just hop on a plane and fly from place to place all over the country when everybody else, MLS, NHL, NBA, they're all doing a bubble. They all have something different that they've done. And I mean, at least to my knowledge, I'm sure there's probably been some small changes, but overall, it seems like the MLB hasn't made a major change like a bubble or, I mean, obviously they're traveling all over the country. That's pretty wild. We can't even get really on planes right now.
That's the wild part to me too.
Well, I mean, I think a big thing with baseball though is baseball's the only sport where every single night, every single game, you're playing in a completely different, randomly sized and shaped field, and that's part of the game. Like we have a short porch, like we have a massive field, and if you create a bubble, like if you put the bubble anywhere, you're basically taking away all of the advantages and disadvantages that teams have been structuring their roster for years. Like, oh, we have a short left field, we need guys that hit this way, that way, whatever. And if you put the bubble all in Tampa Bay or something, well, then it's like I don't know. I think that's why baseball is traveling, because they need to keep that variation in their fields, because that's such a key component of the sport itself. It's like a huge part of it. So
I'm surprised they didn't try to say, all right, you're going to play your division. A lot of the season is going to be you playing your division. Have first and second place, make the playoffs. You have 6 teams. First 2 maybe get a bye. Maybe do a 1-game playoff for both of those. You have 4 teams now, but you keep it within the division so you can do, bus or whatever. So you don't have to do that. I think there are like some strategies like that they could have curtailed the outbreak, but it just seemed like they waited until like a week or 2 before it happened. And they're like, all right, let's just whatever, players figure it out. Come on, 60 games, let's just go. Like the negotiations. I mean, it was already on, I feel like life support before. Now it's like, man, you got, and I mean, baseball is not to blame for the pandemic. What can you really do about that? But I don't know. It's crazy to me to see. It's understandable, but it's all wild. I don't know.
Yeah. I like the divisions. I like what you're saying about kind of breaking it down. The MLB is so big, and I think the biggest issue that they're going to face is, I mean, an NBA team has maybe 12, 15 guys on a roster. The MLB, I mean, you got 9 guys on the field. And I mean, how many pitching coaches, batting coaches, like BP coaches? They just got way too many people. And I never heard about somebody coming up with an idea of breaking it down to a division, but I mean, you might want to send that in. That sounds honestly quite promising to me, better than what they got going on right now for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's, hey, let's have the Dodgers play the Yankees or something like, I mean, not that has happened, obviously, but if you're having crazy travel like that, it's just not feasible to get on a bus and do that all the time. Keep it closer to your division. Those are at least pretty regional, But I don't know. Baseball, I will say they're trying to get a little bit creative. The extended playoff series idea, even though it didn't go with the idea I pitched, they actually have a bigger playoff window than that. And I think it makes sense when you do have a condensed season, 60 games, have the playoffs so that people can just get a little bit more, in a way you're proving your worth a little bit more, right? By winning in a deeper playoff bracket. What I think could be odd, though, is if you end up having 500 teams, 30 and 30, or something like that. Like it's gonna kind of leak almost into like basketball territory, like in the East, where you could be a 35-win team and make the playoffs. So I don't know. I mean, that's kind of odd, but I'm a fan of the extended playoff bracket.
Me too.
Yeah, me too. I agree, man. I mean, more. I mean, the more playoffs, the better. I mean, to be honest, it depends what kind of fan you are. I mean, if you're just a betting man rooting for your team and not the underdog, then you probably don't want that many guys out there. But I mean, as a fan, I want to see as many playoff games as I possibly can. I want to see as many single elimination games as I possibly can. That's what I like to see.
Dude, with that shit being said, is like y'all gonna have to tune into the conspiracy podcast to get in that because I don't want to get too far off the docket and everything.
Bro,
I'm
put
keep it in the brackets and shit or whatever. But like for real, look out for the conspiracy podcast probably like towards the end of the week. You know what I'm saying? Because we're gonna get into all this shit.
Topic number 1, MLB. Bro, and to be honest, all these players, they get to go home every night. So everybody is going to their family every night and then coming back into the field. It's wild.
Hey, how can you stop it?
They make a bubble.
Right. But they have to stay in that fucking bubble. It has to be regulated. You know? Like you can't leave the bubble.
It's like going to
that's how
basketball
shit's gonna go with coronavirus. But let's continue.